What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be previewing what's considered to be the most toxic deck among many in the community in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I know this is a topic that has been covered by many, but because this is such an annoying deck, I feel the more exposure the better, because the more people that know how to beat this, maybe the less it's seen. But anyways, before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this and would like to see more, clicking those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. I also noticed in my previous Master Duel video that it got more attention than my Master Duels videos usually does, and that could be because the update brought back some interest into the game. But regardless to what that is, I'll always try to put out videos that my viewers would want to watch and subscribe for. But anyways, to begin the replay, I'll be going first here, and I'm going to start with the Pot of Duality, chaining the shifter, and now I'm going to dig for 3 here, as I think I'm going to reveal an Eaglin, a Maxi, and a Gold Sark. Yeah, I end up getting the Gold Sark in order to be able to chain block my Robina here. And maybe this was the wrong play and I got a little bit greedy here going for the Stree instead of the Eaglin. But seeing how the game plays out, I don't think it's going to necessarily matter here. Honestly, because of my previous games, I had gotten so cocky with this deck that I wasn't playing around the Imperm, and I was definitely punished there. I happened to play like 4 or 5 games, and I ended up ranking up instantly with this deck. And as you'll see, it's pretty powerful. My opponent is going to end on set 2, which that isn't powerful, unfortunately, as I'm going to summon the Empin, and then I'm going to use the Robina's effect in order to chain block the Empin and get itself back from the banish zone. One thing that you also want to point out is, if you're playing the deck, don't always spam your banished effects. You sometimes want some of them to remain banished so that you can chain block your other normal summons. But you'll see that I'm going to get back to Eaglin here, use the Robina, and then get the Toucan, summon the Stree. My Stree is going to banish the shifter, which my opponent is going to chain Huaquero, revealing what he's playing, as I'm going to Ash the Scarlet here. And from here, as you see, I already have so much advantage, kind of out of nowhere. The Imperm did stop my turn, but the minute that this deck is able to go off, it snowballs, and this is why people consider it to be annoying to play against, just because there's not necessarily a correct place to stop it once the deck goes off and it has ways to play through hand traps. And as you see, I now have the Apex Avian on the field, which is a negation, and now I'm even getting follow-up. As you see, I get the Stree back, I have the Eaglin in hand, and I have the Dreaming Town in my hand in order to get disruptions. And I'm going to point out that this game is going to end a little weird. As you'll see, my opponent's turn is coming up, and he's actually not going to have a bad turn here, as he Lava Golems my monsters, and then he's going to use the Golden Lord on the map, which I have no response for. And I'm going to let my opponent kind of do all of this, run through his resources, because I still have my Dreaming Town, and with the Eaglin in hand, I can just get another Tribute Summon. So, as you'll see, my opponent's going to special summon the Lord here, and what I did not expect was that his last card in hand was Fusion Destiny, and this forces me to chain the Dreaming Town, as I'm going to normal summon the Eaglin now. And this is where I say that the game is going to end a little bit weird, because as you see, the chain links are going to resolve here, as now I get the chain link 1 Eaglin, the chain link 2 Robina, and my opponent at this point in time isn't using the DPE, which is fine. as I'm going to normal summon the Robina now, just getting more monsters on board, search another copy of Robina for follow-up, and now I'm going to tribute summon for the Ryza. And I went for the Lord, knowing that my opponent would use the DPE, as I'm going to also chain the Dreaming Town, but my opponent didn't even chain the DPE to the Dreaming Town, and maybe it's because he didn't know what it did. So, unfortunately, my bounce with the Ryza wasn't the DPE, because I expected the chain, but you'll see that my opponent scoops, as really I had game anyways, as the deck was just able to snowball on him. Spoiler alert, for the second game, we're actually going to see some bird-on-bird crime, as you're going to see me go first again, and I have the Called by the Grave. This was actually back-to-back games where I think I drew the Called by, and I'm going to use the Robina and the Eaglin, and I keep on forgetting that Called by is actually not at 1 here in Master Duel. It's weird seeing it at 2. And I know that's an OCG thing, but still. Anyways, my opponent is going to imperm the Robina here, as I still have the normal summon from the map, and he's going to Ash that, which is going to prompt my Called by the Grave, which I know I could have let that go, but I still wanted the search, and I also didn't want to deal with any more hand traps. But you'll see that I'm going to normal summon or tribute summon the M-Pin here, which is Royal Rare. I actually pulled this. So, about my pulls, when I went into the pack, I had gems that I had saved up from forever. I hadn't spent anything from, like, the 2 last festivals. I was hanging at around 10k because I hadn't been playing much, and with about 5k gems, I went into all the packs and I got the Royal Rare M-Pin, I got the entire Adventure Engine, I got a couple Machina Ruin Forces, and I got some other cards. I got some crazy pulls overall because I didn't even have to craft that much for this deck. And when I thought that I would have to craft, because the first time I went into the packs, I went into about 4,000 gems of them, and then I spent the 1,000 from the anniversary gems just for the video to see if I could pull the Apex Avion, and I actually ended up pulling it. But anyways, back to the replay, you're going to see that my opponent's going to Lightning Storm, and I went into that entire line of play after seeing the the Lightning Storm, so that I could avoid the M-Pin getting popped, as M-Pin can be pretty strong in the mirror, being able to have the attacks and defense. And also another cool thing that I could do here was get Apex Avion back onto the field to stop whatever he would try to tribute summon, which you see I'm gonna do as I tribute away the M-Pin and the Toucan, I think it was, in order to get the Avion. Now, I'm going to use, or I'm not going to use the Apex Avion here, actually. My opponent's going to use all 3 chain links. I'm going to use the Dreaming Town is what I end up using. And I'm doing this so that he can't get over the Avion, and I can keep my negation. So, after my opponent sees this, and I think he knows that I have Robina, Toucan, and Eaglin in hand, I'm pretty sure he might scoop here, I don't remember, as my opponent has no plays left, and this is pretty much what the mirror match is like. The minute that one player normal summons under map, the game is kind of over. Oh, and no, my opponent doesn't scoop here, which is surprising, because I do have the Apex Avion for the Dreaming Town, as I'm going to do now, and on top of that, with the map, I can send the Stree, or banish the Stree, in order to take care of the Dreaming Town in Graveyard, which I also could search it off Robina, but I ended up doing it off the map. So my opponent sees that I banished the Stree, and that's game over. So onto the extra deck, I want to point out that I have like no cards that I would actually use besides these 3, and everything else, as you can see, is just fodder. The winter, or the ash blossoms could be winter cherries, which is why I have these two here. If you decide to play winter cherries, you can try to attack a very diverse meta through adding in as many winter cherries targets as possible, because you have the room to do it. And I also think that would be pretty strong for singles, as it would probably make it one of the more versatile decks in singles. As for the main deck, you'll see the 3 Robinas, the 3 Eaglin, the 1 Stree, and the 1 Toucan. That's all you need. You can recur them back, and you're only ever really using their effects once, maybe 2 times at most, so I don't think that you need to end up making yourself clog on these. The 3 Max C's, and in one of my previous hands you saw that I got Shifter and Ash. And in the video I made before about Master Duels, I gave my opinions on Maxi, in which I don't like drawing it with Shifter, because if you happen to draw both, you're basically forced to Shifter chain Maxi, and the problem with that is that against another deck like Flu or Eldritch, it can be bad. And I mean especially bad because they're not going to normal summon or special summon as much. But even versus combo, D-Shifter kind of just takes care of it all, unless they happen to hard draw the Fusion Destiny, in which that could be a little bit of a problem depending on how both players' hands are. If I had 3 Dark Rulers, this might be it, or the 3 Winter Cherries, but for now this is kind of how it is. As you see, the 1 Apex Avion, the 1 Ryza, the 2 Empins, I think that as far as the Flu lineup, this is probably the best lineup that I've seen in the TCG. And I don't see why it can't transition to Master Duels, especially since you don't want to maximize on potential clogs. Then you have the HFD for back row decks. Again, this could be something else if you wanted to be kind of working with limited gems here and limited craft points. The Gold Sark, the 3 Dualities, the 3 Prosperities, I think that these are all mandatory, as well as the Book of Moons, especially because we don't have Advent, the 3 Map, the Unexplored Winds, the 2 Called by the Grave, and the Dreaming Town. So that pretty much wraps up today's video, and for anyone who hasn't watched my previous Flu videos that goes in depth on what the cards do, I'll leave the description to that down below, as I also went over the adventure cards along with other adventure decks. But I wanted to make this video separately to show what the Flu stuff does, as I already kind of showed what the adventure stuff does. But anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. I'll probably be doing some Rescue Ace and Dark World duels in the upcoming videos, just to give you a little something to look forward to. Unless we happen to get new cards, of course. But anyways, it's Bones, signing out.